Hello, and today we are going to talk about learner autonomy. Let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Madina, and I have been teaching for 6 years, almost 3 years in Skyeng team. And I used to be an assessor, used to do different stuff, different projects. And on the side note, I'm huge lover of Korea and Korean culture. Today we will discuss, like I said, learners autonomy. Why does it matter? What can we do with it? And if it's so important, how to develop said autonomy in our context while using some strategies. Seems easy. Now let's think about this question. What do you understand by an autonomous learner? What are the qualities of such learner? Do you have any ideas? I'm sure that you have. Well, to be honest, autonomous learners are responsible. They don't wait to be told what to do. They're able to study independently, and they can do that while successfully using some learning strategies. They're ready to learn from feedback. They're ready to bear responsibility, and they can be really involved into the process of studying. Sounds nice. Now, what about us, teachers? Why do we need autonomous learners? So, research shows that learners' proficiency increases with learner autonomy, and our learners, they bring their life experiences, interests into the classroom. Sounds good. And they are easier to work with. All in all, we can bring the horse to water, but we can't make him drink. So we can't force our students to learn something. We can't force knowledge into their heads if they don't want to do that. Now, I would just like to point out that learner autonomy is widely spread in independent learning, but I'm sure that there are some opportunities and there are some tools which we can use and imply learner autonomy inside of the classroom too. As a result, we would probably have higher involvement, better attitudes, self-assessment, etc. Now, what are these mysterious learning strategies which I mentioned? So our strategies include metacognitive strategies when we plan and evaluate, affective when we develop motivation and deal with disappointment, and social interactional, because our students, they need whom to ask for help. Now, how to do that? How to teach them? First of all, of course, we will have to guide our students. It's a common mistake when teachers think that if I teach them how to be independent, they will just leave me. Not really, because our students, they still need some kind of a guidance. So we need to show materials for classroom practice. We need to name the strategy. We need to explain why and when to use it. Then we model it, how it works in the classroom, and then provide some practice. And after, ask our students to evaluate the usefulness of this strategy, because we really want them to be conscious about the studying process. And of course, later we can give materials for our students to practice. Now, so the first set of strategies would be metacognition, and I'm sure that you have heard about this word. In simple words, it means thinking about one's thinking. So we basically want our students to think about what works for them, how to evaluate themselves, and so on and so forth. So we want to teach them how to plan their own learning, how to monitor it, and how to evaluate it. Now, can you think about some activities which can help your students to plan, monitor, and evaluate their learning? I'm sure that you have a lot of ideas. Don't forget to bring them to our practical workshop so we can discuss different cases, different situations, and your tools. Now, metacognitive activities, and the first idea would be habit tracker. So how to do that? Basically, we use the same trackers which usually used for healthy lifestyle, but we need to put good English habits. So we want to implement language into their life, into our students' life. And in order to plan this process, in order to show them that they don't have to swim in these links and materials, we can provide them with this plan. You can use any type of trackers, either printed or digital, fill them in together, and review them later. Because as much as our students want to be independent, they are not born like this. So they really need some steps, right? Some strategies to help them out, some tactics if you want. And don't forget that you need to add habits one by one. We don't want to overwhelm our students with a lot of materials, a lot of links, and so on. So I can share one case with you. I have a student, and she wants to pass IELTS. But because of some financial difficulties, she can't attend more than one lesson per week. So she understands that it's not enough. And we've decided to fill this tracker. So we put one lesson a week. Then we put two homeworks, one from the current level and one from the previous level. Then we've decided to add one essay per week. And after that, also 5 words, which she needs to memorize. So just like this, we can plan the content which we send to our students, and then hopefully they will be able to also track their progress and see why they lack, what do they lack, what should they do to make it better. So the second idea would be KWL. I'm sure that you have heard about this one. So the first letter stays for what I know. Then we want to focus on what I want to know about this topic, and then what I have learned. Actually, we can try and apply this system to this workshop. What I know about this topic. So I know that there is learner autonomy. What I want to know about this topic. Well, I would like to know some tools which I can use inside of the classroom, and then what I have learned. At least now I know there are some strategies. I know habit trackers. I know KWL, just like this. Because our students, they usually come to us with some expectations. They want to know something, and then if we don't make them see what is happening, they may lose any motivation and they may think that they don't progress. I'm sure that you have heard sometimes some students say, I don't see my progress. I don't understand why I do this exercise or that exercise. So in order to show them, we can use KWL. Before doing something difficult, we focus on what we know about this. Then, during an activity, we focus only on what learners want to know. And finally, after an activity, we together analyze what I have learned. So you show them this tool during the lesson, and then they can use it even while doing their homework. For example, we have this long, boring reading exercise, prison crisis. So how to deal with that? You just have to firstly think about the topic. What I know about this. Prisons in Europe, they are quite clean, safe, and so on. What I want to know about it. Well, I would like to know some words in order to read my favorite detective stories. Okay, and then after, we can analyze what I have learned. Now I know some words about punishment, about criminals, or something else. See, so it wasn't for nothing. And again, we want our students to be proactive and to be conscious about the process, so they can analyze what do they want, what they already know, and what they would like to know. Now, next idea would be self-evaluation activities. I know that you're probably aware of importance of these activities. So self-evaluation, and we can ask our students to analyze what helped them to do this or that, and then to analyze what they lack to do better. How to do that? Well, I suggest you to show this list of things which help your students to do this or that. For example, listening. So After some listening activities, we can say, well, let's try to understand. How do you do that? How you understand this audio? By listening to the background noises only? Okay. Very successful? Not really. Maybe we need to try something else. See? So again, we want to develop their autonomy. We want them to be responsible. We want them to be able to think about themselves. That's metacognition. Now, about reading, same. We basically can suggest this list and ask them to analyze how they understand it by looking at the format of the text, by looking at the headings, or picking out all the words. So, does it work for you? Yes, great. If it doesn't work, then we need to try something else. That's okay. So it's just some after activity reflections. And we can do something like this even in the end of the lesson. When we discuss their results and achievements, you may ask a few questions, you may elicit some answers and push them to analyze what did they learn, what did they do, and so on and so forth. Now the next set of strategies, affection. Affection correlates with emotions, and it's not only for depressed students, because sometimes some students may feel a little bit down after some activities. I don't know what to do. I don't know why I missed this word, why I didn't understand this or that, and so on and so forth. So basically, affection, it is what our students feel about lesson procedures, materials, and the language in general. And we all can agree that positive environment promotes learning. And we need to try and make our students and help them to lower anxiety, some fears, disappointment, and so on. Now, how to do that? Which activities can you think of that create positive, effective environment? Let me share a few ideas. So the first one would be fight with perfectionism. Before doing a task, we can set some realistic standards regarding what level of imperfection we are willing to tolerate. So if you see that the topic is new and the student is struggling with this topic, you may set this standard like 3 grammar mistakes. That's okay for us for now. Then we do the task and then we go back to the standard and assess whether these imperfections are tolerable or no. So if you see that the student is still uncomfortable, you may say that it was just additional practice and we need to go back and go through the rules one more time, for example, or have some additional practice, or let me understand it, or let me teach you one more time, and so on. If you see that the level of imperfection was okay, then it's fine. So your student doesn't have to exaggerate, they don't have to panic and feel disappointed in themselves. Here we have this exercise and the students really made some mistakes, but that's okay if we firstly set some realistic standards. Now another idea, positive review. This one is kind of similar to the previous one, but here we want our students, after doing something difficult, to report orally or in writing only on what they have learned or did well. They need to include several points in this report, so they would focus only on their strengths. For example, after this exercise, you see that yes, there are some mistakes, and probably your student would say something like, I failed it, no, it's awful. What can we do? We need to ask them to report on what did your student do well. So now I know that there are sounds and they're different, and now probably my pronunciation is a little bit better than before, and now I know how to pronounce this word or that word, and so on. So again, our students hopefully they won't be afraid of challenge, of mistakes, they won't stop them. Now the last set of strategies, social interaction. Our autonomous learners, they are proactive, right? And they know whom to ask if they don't know something. I'm sure that you know what I mean, because if they don't know something, they usually come to you. right? But how do they understand that it's okay to ask you? So I suggest you to use collection of I don't knows. If your students have some problems, they have some questions about their homework or some other questions, you can create a chat or share a document where you will collect all I don't knows. Then we can review them together during the lesson or during the breaks. You can use whatever is more comfortable for you. Our Skyeng chat or maybe some other social networks. It's up to you, it's up to your student. If it's more comfortable for you to share your number, that's okay. So it really helps you to know what is happening, to know if your student has some problems and if there are some gaps in his or her knowledge. And all in all, it also shows your student that you care about them, that you want to know about their problems and that you are ready to help them out. So just say this outright. It's okay to send me a message. Please, let's collect all of your questions. Let's work with them and so on. Now, so it's time to summarize everything. What our autonomous learners will be able to do if we develop their autonomy? Well, first of all, they will be able to analyze which things work better for them and why. They will be able to reflect on their strengths and weaknesses and measure their efforts and know whom to ask for help. So just follow these strategies, these steps, and try different tools, see what works better, and then hopefully your students will be involved into the process. They will be ready to learn from feedback. They won't be afraid of this feedback, and they will be just proactive and efficient. Thank you for your attention, and hopefully see you again during our practical workshop.